Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we are diving deep into how to leverage podcasts for some serious English language improvement. Whether you're dreaming of traveling the world, acing that job interview, or just, casually impressing your friends with your skills, this is the deep dive for you.
I think we all have those friends we want to impress.
Oh, absolutely.
With our language skills.
So we're going to be looking at a podcast called Language Mastery Audio, which is...
I love that title.
I know, it's very straightforward, isn't it?
Yeah.
And these guys are clearly, passionate about languages and have some great advice to share.
They do.
But we're not just going to summarize. We're going to extract the gold for you today.
Actionable stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you can really make the most of your listening time.
That's what we're here for.
So to kick things off, why are podcasts so effective for language learning?
Well, I think one of the biggest things is just how convenient they are.
Right.
You can listen to them literally anywhere.
Like, you don't need to be sitting at a desk or anything.
Exactly. In the gym, on a walk, doing the dishes.
Yeah. It's like learning on the go.
Yeah. And it's so different from, just listening to like a language learning app or something, because you're hearing real people.
Oh, yeah.
Having real conversations.
It's like authentic English.
Exactly.
That's being used in the real world.
Yeah, you're exposed to like slang and idioms and, just the natural flow of conversation.
Yeah, because textbooks can be so formal.
Yes.
And kind of sterile sometimes.
Yeah, it's not how people actually talk.
Right. And, speaking of idioms, the source we're looking at brought up this awesome podcast called The English We Speak.
Catchy title.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And it's all about, idioms and slang.
Which can be tricky.
Oh, they can be so tricky.
Have you ever had any funny experiences with idioms?
Oh, gosh. So many.
I bet.
I mean, just the other day I was trying to say break a leg to a friend who had a presentation.
Oh, no.
And it came out as break an arm.
Oh.
I don't know why, but...
At least you weren't wishing them bad luck.
That's true.
Like, don't break a leg.
Yeah, but they were very confused.
I can imagine.
So yeah, idioms can be a minefield sometimes.
Definitely. But they're so important for sounding natural.
Oh, absolutely. They add so much color to your language.
Yeah.
So, okay, we're sold on podcasts, but how do we even begin to choose the right one?
Well, the first thing is to be honest with yourself about your level.
Right. Don't try to jump into something that's way too advanced.
Exactly. You'll just end up feeling discouraged.
Yeah, start with something that's challenging but not overwhelming.
Yeah. So the source actually had some great suggestions.
Oh, I saw those.
For different levels.
Yeah. Can you walk us through those?
Yeah. So for beginners, they recommended things like ESL Pod or the British Council podcast.
Those sound great for building confidence.
Yeah. They use really clear, slower paced speech.
Perfect for getting started.
Yeah. And then if you're more intermediate, they suggested All Ears English, which I love because they talk about real-life topics and cultural nuances.
So it's not just about vocabulary. It's about understanding how to actually use the language.
Exactly, yeah.
And what about for those who are more advanced?
Well, if you're ready for a challenge, TED Talks Daily is amazing.
Oh, I love TED Talks.
Yeah, it's such a wide range of topics.
Yeah, and the speakers are so engaging.
Yeah, and the vocabulary is definitely more advanced.
It's a good way to stretch your skills.
Yeah.
But I remember they also had a pro tip in the source.
Yes.
What was that all about?
It was about choosing a topic you're passionate about.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because if you're interested in what you're listening to, you're going to be more engaged.
And you're more likely to stick with it.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, if you love listen to tech podcasts,
yeah.
If you're into history, there are tons of history podcasts out there.
It's all about finding something that you actually enjoy.
Right, because learning should be fun.
Yeah.
So we've chosen our perfect podcast. We're all fired up and ready to learn. What do we do next? Just hit play and let the magic happen?
Well, not quite.
Okay.
There's a little more to it than that.
All right, I'm intrigued.
We need to be actively listening.
Active listening. Okay, so what does that mean?
So it means not just passively listening to the podcast.
Okay.
But actually engaging with the content.
Got it.
Yeah.
So how do we do that?
Well, the source outlined 3 specific techniques.
Okay, let's hear them.
So the first one is pause and repeat.
Okay, I like that.
So whenever you hear a new word or phrase, you pause the podcast, rewind a little bit, and repeat it out loud.
Oh, I do that all the time.
That's so helpful.
Especially when I hear a word that sounds interesting.
Yeah, and it really helps with pronunciation.
It does.
And it helps commit it to memory.
Yeah, because you're actually saying the word.
Exactly. You're not just hearing it.
You're making it a part of your own vocabulary.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so pause and repeat. That's a good one.
Yeah, and then the second technique is take notes.
I'm a big note taker. But how do we make sure those notes actually help us improve our English?
Well, the key is to use them as a study guide.
Okay.
So you can review the words and phrases you've written down and try to use them in your own sentences.
So it's not just about writing them down, it's about actively using them.
Exactly. Yeah.
And the third technique
It's called predict the next line.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
Yeah.
How does that one work?
So as you're listening, try to predict what the speaker's going to say next.
Oh, okay.
Before they actually say it.
It's like a little game.
Yeah, kind of.
You're trying to guess what's coming.
Yeah. And it really forces you to think in English.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got pause and repeat, take notes, and predict the next line.
Yep.
Those are some great active listening techniques.
They are.
But I feel like there's one more big piece of the puzzle here.
There is.
And the source called it shadowing for fluency.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty intense.
It can be.
So what exactly is shadowing and why is it so effective?
Well, basically, you play a segment of the podcast.
Okay.
And then you immediately repeat what you hear.
Oh, okay.
Trying to mimic the speaker's pronunciation, intonation, and rhythm.
So you're like their shadow speaking right along with them.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like having a personal language coach.
I like that.
Right there in your ear.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
But that sounds kind of intimidating.
It can be, but you don't have to start with anything too difficult.
Okay.
You can start with simple phrases.
All right.
And then gradually work your way up to longer sentences and dialogues.
So it's about finding your comfort zone and then pushing yourself a little bit further each time.
Exactly. Yeah. And don't worry about making mistakes.
Oh, yeah. Mistakes are part of the process.
Yeah. It's all about practice.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So far, we've covered how to choose the right podcast, engage in active listening, and even shadow for fluency.
Yeah, we're making progress.
It feels like we've got all the tools we need to start seeing some serious improvement.
We do, but there's one more crucial element.
Okay, what's the secret ingredient?
You could say that it's consistency.
Ah, consistency. I knew it.
It's so important.
Yeah, you can have all the best techniques in the world.
Yeah.
But if you're not consistent, you're not going to see results.
Exactly. And it's something we all struggle with.
Oh, absolutely. Life gets in the way.
Yeah, so the source recommends setting a schedule.
Okay.
And sticking to it.
Even if it's just for 15 minutes a day?
Yeah, even 15 minutes can make a big difference over time.
15 minutes? That feels doable.
Yeah, and the beauty of podcasts is that you can listen to them anywhere.
Right.
So you can easily fit them into your day.
You can turn your commute into a language learning opportunity.
Exactly.
Or your workout, or even just doing chores around the house.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a separate activity.
I love how flexible that is.
Yeah.
So consistency is key, but wait, I think the source had a few more bonus tips and resources.
Oh, they did. They had some great ones.
Okay, let's hear them. What else did they have in store for us?
Okay, well, first, they talked about podcast apps.
Oh, yeah, those are essential.
Like Spotify and Pocket Casts.
Oh, I love those apps.
Yeah, they're so helpful.
I help you discover new podcasts.
Yeah.
Keep everything organized.
Yeah, you can create playlists, download episodes for offline listening.
It's like having a personal podcast library.
Exactly.
Okay, so podcast apps, definitely a must-have.
Yep.
What else?
Well, then they talked about playback speed.
Oh, yeah?
Don't be afraid to adjust the playback speed.
Okay, if it's too fast, slow it down.
Exactly.
If you're feeling confident, speed it up.
Yeah.
Find that sweet spot.
Yeah.
All right, playback speed, good tip.
And then finally, for our visual learners out there, they recommend using subtitles or transcripts.
Oh, that's a good one.
If they're available.
Yeah, I'm a visual learner myself, so I find that really helpful.
Yeah, it can help you catch tricky words or phrases.
And it just reinforces what you're hearing.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we've got podcast apps, playback speed, and subtitles or transcripts.
Those are some great bonus tips.
They are. We've got a lot to work with here.
We do.
So many great strategies for using podcasts to improve our English.
And the best part is that they're all really easy to implement.
Exactly.
So what are you waiting for?
Yeah. Go out there, find some podcasts that you love,
And start listening.
And don't forget to use all the amazing techniques we've talked about today.
Yeah, and have fun.
Learning should be enjoyable.
Exactly.
All right, so on that note, I think we're ready to move on to our next section where we'll dive even deeper into some of these strategies. So stay tuned. We'll be right back after a quick break.
Okay, so we're back and ready to keep this language learning momentum going.
Let's do it.
Before we jump into even more strategies, though, I think it's helpful to take a step back and just do like a quick recap.
Oh, good idea.
You know, make sure we're all on the same page.
Yeah, sometimes it's easy to get lost in the details.
Totally. So let's just like crystallize the main points so far.
Okay.
First things first, why are podcasts so amazing for learning English? Well, they're portable. You can listen to them anywhere.
Right.
They're immersive. You get to hear real, authentic English.
And so much variety.
Oh, yeah. Tons of different topics to choose from.
Which reminds me, we talked about choosing the right podcast and how important it is to start at the right level.
Exactly.
No need to jump into the deep end and get discouraged.
Yeah, so for beginners, we talked about podcasts like ESL Pod and the British Council podcast.
Yeah, those are great for building a solid foundation.
Slower pace, clear pronunciation.
Exactly. And then for intermediate learners, we mentioned All Ears English.
Love that podcast.
I know, it's so good.
They really dive into those cultural nuances.
Yeah, it's not just about the words themselves, it's about how they're used in different contexts.
Absolutely. And then for those who are ready for a real challenge, TED Talks Daily.
Oh, yeah, great suggestion.
A really rich vocabulary, thought-provoking topics.
Yeah, I mean, TED Talks are amazing in general,
They are?
but they're also fantastic for language learning.
Yeah, if you're up for the challenge.
But no matter what level you're at,
Mm-hmm.
don't forget the pro tip. Find a podcast that you're actually passionate about.
Yes, this is so important.
And if you're not interested in the topic, you're just not going to stick with it.
Exactly. It should be enjoyable.
Yeah, learning should be fun.
So find something that speaks to you.
Yeah, like if you love true crime,
Yeah.
there are so many true crime podcasts out there.
Oh my gosh, so many.
So yeah, find your passion and let that guide you.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got our podcast. We're ready to hit play.
Right.
What's next?
Time for some active listening.
Active listening. Okay, so we touched on this before.
Yeah.
But let's break it down a bit further.
So it's all about really engaging with the podcast,
Okay,
not just passively listening.
got it. So how do we do that?
Well, remember those 3 techniques we talked about?
Yeah, pause and repeat, take notes, and predict the next line.
You got it.
Okay, so let's start with pause and repeat.
So simple, but so effective.
You hear a new word or phrase, you pause, rewind, and repeat it out loud.
Exactly. Helps with pronunciation and memorization.
Yeah, you're really making that word a part of your vocabulary.
Absolutely.
And then take notes.
Classic for a reason.
I love taking notes.
Me too. It helps me remember things.
But it's not just about writing the words down.
Right. You have to use those notes.
Yeah, this is a study guide.
Exactly. Review the words. Try to use them in your own sentences.
Turn them into flashcards.
Yeah, make them work for you.
And then predict the next line.
This one's fun.
It is. It's like a little game.
Try to guess what the speaker's going to say next.
Yeah, before they say it.
Forces you to think in English.
I like that a lot.
Mhm.
Okay, so active listening techniques, super important.
They are.
But we can't forget about the big one, shadowing.
Ah, yes. Shadowing for fluency.
I'm still a little intimidated by this one.
I get it. It can feel weird at first.
But it's supposed to be so effective.
It really is.
So remind us how it works.
So you play a segment of the podcast,
Okay.
and then you immediately repeat what you hear, mimicking their pronunciation, their intonation, their rhythm.
Like you were their echo.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're really focusing on all the nuances of their speech.
Exactly. And it's like having a language coach right there with you.
I love that analogy.
Yeah, it's so helpful.
But where do you even start with shadowing?
Start small,
Okay.
simple phrases at first,
Right.
and then gradually work your way up to longer sentences and even whole dialogues.
So find your comfort zone and then push yourself a little further each time.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Oh, yeah. Mistakes are inevitable.
They're part of the process.
Embrace the mistakes.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got active listening, we've got shadowing,
We're on a roll.
but there's one more thing that's absolutely essential.
Can't forget about consistency.
Consistency, the key to success.
It really is.
I mean, you can have all the best strategies, all the best tools, but if you're not consistent, you're not going to see the results.
Exactly. And I know it's hard.
Oh, it's so hard.
Life gets in the way.
But the source really emphasized the importance of setting a schedule.
Yeah, even if it's just 15 minutes a day.
15 minutes, that's manageable.
Exactly. And the beauty of podcasts is that you can listen to them anywhere.
Right.
So you can fit them into your day no matter how busy you are.
Turn your commute into a learning opportunity.
Yeah,
Listen while you're working out.
exactly. Make it a habit.
I love that.
Yeah.
So consistency is key, but don't forget those bonus tips.
Oh, yeah, we got some good ones.
Podcast apps like Spotify and Pocket Casts
Essential.
help you discover new podcasts, keep everything organized.
Yeah, create playlists, download episodes.
It's like having a personal podcast library in your pocket.
I love it.
And then adjusting the playback speed.
Oh, yeah, great tip.
If it's too fast, slow it down.
Exactly. If it's too slow, speed it up.
Find that sweet spot.
Yep.
And then for our visual learners, subtitles and transcripts.
Yes, if they're available, take advantage of them.
Really helpful for catching those tricky words and phrases.
And for reinforcing what you're hearing. Okay. I think we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have!
We've talked about why podcasts are amazing.
Active listening, shadowing consistency.
All the good stuff.
And bonus tips.
We're equipped.
We are. But now it's time to take all this knowledge and put it into action.
Yes.
So I think a good way to do that is to leave our listener with the final thought-provoking question.
I like that.
Something that wasn't explicitly mentioned in the source, but that really builds on everything we've discussed.
Okay, let's hear it.
So, listener, think about this. What kind of English speaker do you want to become?
That's good.
What do you envision for yourself?
What are your goals?
Do you see yourself confidently navigating conversations with native speakers?
Sharing your thoughts and ideas fluently.
Connecting with people from all over the world through the power of language.
It's a powerful thing to think about.
It is, because language learning, it's about so much more than just memorizing words and grammar rules.
It's about opening up a whole new world of possibilities.
Connecting with people on a deeper level.
Expanding your horizons.
So as you explore the world of podcasts and you experiment with these strategies, keep that vision in mind.
Let it guide you.
Because with dedication and a clear sense of purpose, you can achieve incredible things.
You really can.
And who knows, maybe one day you'll be hosting your own podcast in fluent English.
Now, wouldn't that be amazing?
It would. It's amazing to think about the possibilities, right?
It is.
Like what you can actually do with those language skills.
Yeah, once you have that fluency.
It's so inspiring.
It is.
But okay, we've covered so much today.
We have.
I want to make sure our listener walks away, feeling empowered, not overwhelmed.
Right.
So let's distill everything down to a few key takeaways.
Okay, good idea.
So listener, if you only remember 3 things from this deep dive, let it be these.
Okay, I'm ready.
First, embrace the power of podcasts.
Yes.
They are such a versatile and effective tool for language learning.
You can listen to them anywhere.
They're immersive. You get to hear real, authentic English.
And there's so much variety out there.
Tons of different topics to choose from.
So you can find something that you're really interested in.
Exactly. So find your passion and let that guide your learning.
Yeah.
Second, active listening is key.
Yes.
Don't just passively listen.
Engage with the content.
Pause, repeat, take notes, predict the next line.
Make it a mental workout for your English.
Exactly. And third, never underestimate the power of consistency.
This is huge.
It is even dedicating just a small amount of time each day to focus podcast listening can lead to incredible results over time.
It really can.
It's like building a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
So make it a habit.
Right. And of course, don't forget those bonus tips.
Oh, yeah.
Podcast apps.
Oh, yes.
Adjusting the playback speed, subtitles, and transcripts.
If they're available.
All those little things can really make a big difference.
They can.
So we've given you the tools.
We have.
Now it's up to you to put them into action.
It's time to take that next step.
Choose a podcast that excites you, engage with the language actively. Make language learning a regular part of your routine.
You got this.
And most importantly, have fun.
Yes.
Learning a language should be enjoyable.
This should be a journey of discovery.
Exactly. So go out there, explore the vast world of podcasts, and let your passion for language learning guide you.
We can't wait to hear about your progress.
Happy listening, everyone. All right, let's dive in. Today we're tackling how to learn English.
Really exciting stuff.
Yeah, and English, it's everywhere, right? But even for those of us who've been at it a while, it can feel like a puzzle sometimes.
It really can.
Like, why do thought, though, and through sound so different?
Yeah, English has its quirks.
It really does.
Oh.
But the cool thing is, looking at these sources we have today, they all seem to agree that anyone can become fluent.
Absolutely. No matter where you're starting from.
So encouraging to hear. So where do we even begin with all this?
Well, the big thing that jumps out is this idea of immersion.
Okay, immersion. Does that mean like I got to book a flight to London?
Not necessarily. It's more about creating that English-speaking environment wherever you are.
Ah, so like bringing a little bit of London to my living room.
Exactly. And the sources actually suggest some super simple things you can start doing today.
Oh, like what?
Well, for example, changing your phone's language settings to English.
That's a good idea. Right. I'm always on my phone anyway.
Right, so why not use it as a learning tool?
Makes sense. What else? What other kind of immersion stuff did you find?
One that really stood out was watching movies and TV shows with English subtitles.
Oh, yeah. I actually read something about that recently, this idea of comprehensible input. Like, you learn best when you're exposed to language just a bit above your level.
It's about finding that sweet spot.
Totally. Instead of like diving into Shakespeare, maybe start with a sitcom you've already seen, just in English this time.
Exactly. Now, these sources, they break down immersion into specific skills too, like listening, speaking, reading, writing.
Okay, let's break it down. Let's start with listening. What stood out to you there?
Well, they really highlighted listening to a variety of things: podcasts, audiobooks, even English music.
It's about training your ear.
Yeah, getting used to different accents, the rhythms of the language.
Oh, can you explain that for a sec? The rhythm part. I know it's like the rise and fall of your voice, but why is that so important in English?
Intonation. It's huge because it can actually change the meaning of what you're saying.
Really?
Totally. Like, take a simple phrase, that's great. It could sound enthusiastic or sarcastic, even doubtful.
Wow, so it's like a whole other layer of meaning.
It is. And a cool technique they suggested was mimicry. Like, you listen to how native speakers say things and try to copy their intonation.
Like a free coaching session in your ear.
Exactly.
Now, speaking of speaking, any tips for getting over that fear of actually using the language?
One that I thought was kind of funny, but they suggested talking to yourself in the mirror.
Huh, really?
Yeah. It's a safe space to practice without feeling self-conscious,
Actually, I used to do that when I was learning Spanish. Helped a lot.
Right. And they also talked about finding a language partner or like online communities where you can chat with people.
That's a good one. Even if you don't have a partner, you can just like narrate your day to yourself in English.
Keep the language active in your mind.
Totally. And I think that highlights something really important: consistency. All these sources seem to agree on that, right? Like, even a little bit each day is better than cramming once a week.
Absolutely. Make it a habit.
Okay, so we've got listening, speaking. What about reading? Any tips there?
Start simple. Blogs, magazines, even children's books.
Yeah, I gotta find stuff that's enjoyable so you actually want to keep reading.
Right. Then as you get more comfortable, you can level up novels, newspapers, maybe even academic articles.
I remember when I first started reading English novels, I felt like I needed a dictionary on every page.
I've been there.
But it gets easier over time.
The more you do it, the more natural it becomes.
All right, so listening, speaking, reading. Last but not least, writing. Anything good there?
One that stood out to me was keeping a journal in English.
A journal, huh?
Yeah, it's a low-pressure way to practice. Just get your thoughts down.
You can experiment without worrying about being judged.
Exactly. And they mentioned some helpful tools, too, like Grammarly, for catching those little mistakes.
Like having a personal editor. Speaking of tools, they had a ton of resources in these materials. Apps, websites, all sorts of stuff.
It's a whole treasure chest.
Let's start with apps. They were big fans of Duolingo and Memrise for vocab.
Yeah, those are great for gamifying the learning process. Make it fun.
Duolingo, it's addictive. I've used it myself.
And for grammar and listening, they suggested the BBC Learning English website.
Oh, yeah, that's a classic. I used that way back when.
They got tons of resources.
Then there are those apps for connecting with native speakers, like HelloTalk and Tandem.
Yeah, you can chat with people from all over the world.
It's amazing how easy it is to connect with people now.
And practice your conversation skills.
Oh, it's funny. They actually mentioned podcasts as a good resource, too. So we're not just talking about them. We're part of the learning ecosystem.
That's right. Podcasts are great for immersing yourself in the language.
All right, before we wrap up this part, let's shift gears a bit and talk mindset. Because I feel like that plays a huge role, our attitude toward learning.
Absolutely. The sources were really big on that, too.
Okay, so what did you find? What's the key to a good language learning mindset?
Well, first off, they reminded us that it takes time.
Patience, right?
Yeah, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. You have to be kind to yourself and acknowledge that progress might be slow sometimes.
It's so true. I've been there, getting frustrated when I hit those plateaus.
We all have. But those little wins along the way, those are important to celebrate.
Every little victory counts.
Absolutely. And speaking of comparing ourselves, the sources also cautioned against that.
Oh, that's a tough one. It's so easy to look at others and feel like you're not doing enough.
Especially with social media these days.
But everyone learns differently.
Yeah, exactly. So instead of focusing on others, concentrate on your own progress.
Celebrate your own wins. Okay, so we've got patience, avoid comparisons. Anything else about creating that positive mindset?
Yeah, they talked about creating a supportive learning environment for yourself.
Like a space where you can focus.
Exactly. Maybe it's a quiet corner in your home or joining a language group, something like that.
Being around other learners can be so motivating.
It's like having a cheerleading squad.
Yeah.
And surrounding yourself with positive things, quotes, music, maybe just reminders of why you started learning in the first place.
Oh, that's good. Reminding yourself of your why.
Exactly. So to sum it up, it's about patience, avoiding comparisons, and creating that supportive environment for yourself.
Sounds like a recipe for success.
It really is. It's about cultivating that growth mindset.
You know what's really hitting home for me is that learning English, it's not just about memorizing rules.
It's so much more than that.
It's about a new way of thinking, interacting with the world.
Opening yourself up to new cultures, new experiences.
And having fun along the way. Speaking of fun, maybe it's time to explore some of those practical tools and techniques that can make this whole journey a little bit easier.
Let's do it. I've got some good ones.
Okay, hit me with your best language learning hacks.
All right, well, one that really caught my eye was this idea of spaced repetition.
Spaced repetition? I think I've heard of that, but remind me how it works.
Basically, it's about reviewing things at increasing intervals.
So instead of cramming, you space it out over time.
Exactly. And there are apps and websites that can help you with that.
Oh, wow. So it's like a personalized study plan?
It takes the guesswork out of it.
That's awesome. What else? What other techniques did you find?
Well, this one might sound a bit old school, but flashcards.
Flashcards? Really? I haven't used those since I was a kid.
I know, right? But they can be really effective, especially for vocab and grammar.
Okay, but how do you make them engaging?
Well, instead of just words, you can use pictures or examples.
Oh, that makes sense. More visual.
And you can use them to test yourself on all sorts of things like verb conjugations or idioms.
Break it down into bite-sized pieces?
Exactly.
Okay, so flashcards, got it. What else?
Another technique that I've personally found helpful is shadowing.
Shadowing. Okay, I'm intrigued. What's that?
Basically, you listen to a recording of a native speaker and try to repeat exactly what they're saying.
So you're like their shadow, mimicking their every word.
Precisely. It helps with pronunciation and fluency.
I can see how that would be helpful. Forces you to pay attention to all the nuances.
It's like a workout for your tongue.
Haha, love it. Okay, so we've got flashcards, shadowing. What else?
This one's a fun one. Music.
Music. How does that help with language learning?
Well, music is full of repetition and rhythm, which are great for language acquisition. Plus, it's enjoyable.
Makes sense. You're more likely to stick with it if you're having fun.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's so many genres to choose from. You're bound to find something you like.
Yeah, maybe pop music for vocabulary, jazz for more complex sentences.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to sing along.
Okay, so music, check. Anything else?
Yeah, we touched on this earlier, but language exchange apps and websites.
Right, like those platforms where you connect with native speakers.
Exactly. It's a great way to practice in a real-world setting.
Like a modern-day pen pal.
And you could do voice or video calls too.
Technology is amazing. All right, so we've got a lot of great tools and techniques here. Any final thoughts before we move on to the big picture?
Oh, just one more. Reading aloud.
Reading aloud, how does that help?
It engages multiple senses at once. You're seeing the words, hearing them, and feeling them.
Oh, I get it. A full brain workout.
Exactly. And it can be really enjoyable, especially if you choose material you like.
Reading a poem aloud would be pretty cool.
It brings the language to life.
Awesome. So reading aloud, check. I feel like we've covered so much already. But before we wrap up, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the bigger picture of what it means to learn English.
Yeah, I think it's important to remember that it's not just about acquiring a set of skills.
It's about something bigger.
It's about expanding your horizons, connecting with new cultures.
Seeing the world through different lenses.
Exactly. And it's about challenging yourself, stepping outside your comfort zone.
I think that's a powerful message. Learning English, it's not just about fluency.
It's about personal growth.
Exactly. Well, before we go, I want to leave our listeners with one last thought.
Okay, what's that?
Every time you encounter a new word, a new phrase, imagine it as a key.
A key.
Yeah, a key that unlocks a new door in your mind.
I love that.
It's about opening up new possibilities, new perspectives.
So keep collecting those keys.
Keep unlocking those doors.
And keep exploring the world of English.
Beautifully said. Well, folks, that brings us to the end of this part of our deep dive into the best ways to learn English. We hope you've learned a lot and are feeling inspired to continue your language learning journey.
Every step you take, no matter how small, brings you closer to your goal.
And don't forget to celebrate those wins along the way.
Absolutely. Keep practicing, keep exploring, keep believing in yourself.
Until next time, happy learning.
They really emphasize that it's a journey,
Yeah.
learning a new language.
Yeah, it's not something that happens overnight.
Right, like it's not a sprint, it's more like a marathon.
Oh, I like that.
So you got to be patient with yourself. Acknowledge that progress might be slow sometimes.
Ugh, it's so true. I get so frustrated when I hit those plateaus.
We all do. It's natural.
Yeah.
But it's important to celebrate those small wins along the way.
Yeah, every little victory counts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Every time you master a new grammar rule or have a good conversation in English, take a moment to appreciate that.
It's like those milestones you see on a hiking trail. Keep you motivated.
Love that. And speaking of comparing, the sources also talked about how we shouldn't compare ourselves to others.
Oh my gosh, I'm so guilty of that.
It's so easy to do, especially with social media.
You see people who seem like they're learning languages effortlessly.
It makes you feel bad.
Totally. But, everyone learns at their own pace.
Exactly. We all have our own strengths and weaknesses.
Like comparing apples and oranges.
Exactly. So instead of focusing on what others are doing, just concentrate on your own progress.
Celebrate your own wins. Okay, so patience, no comparisons. What else did these sources say about mindset?
Well, they talked about creating a positive and supportive learning environment for yourself.
That makes sense. I know when I'm in a negative environment, it's way harder to focus.
Totally. So it might be finding a quiet place to study or joining a language group.
Yeah, having those like-minded people around can make a big difference.
It's like having a support system. And also surrounding yourself with positive things like inspirational quotes, maybe uplifting music.
Even just reminding yourself why you started learning English in the first place.
Oh, that's a good one. Your why.
Right. So to recap, it's about being patient, not comparing ourselves to others, and creating that positive environment.
That's it. It's all about cultivating a growth mindset.
It's really hitting home for me that learning English is more than just memorizing a bunch of rules.
It really is.
It's about a whole new way of thinking, interacting with the world.
It is. It's about opening yourself up to new cultures, new experiences.
And having fun.
Yeah.
Speaking of fun, I think it's time to dive into some of the practical tools and techniques that these sources recommend.
Yes. Let's get into the nitty-gritty.
I'm ready for some action items. One thing I saw that I thought was really interesting was this idea of spaced repetition.
Oh yeah, spaced repetition. It's a game changer.
I've heard of it, but remind me how it works.
So basically, it's about reviewing information at spaced intervals.
So instead of cramming everything at once, you space it out over time.
Exactly. And the cool thing is there are all these apps and websites that use spaced repetition algorithms.
Wow, so it's like having a personalized tutor.
It is. It takes all the guesswork out of studying.
I gotta check that out. Okay, what else? What other cool techniques did you find?
Well, this one might sound a little old school, but flashcards?
Flashcards? Seriously?
I know, right? But they can be super effective for vocab and grammar.
Okay, but how do you make flashcards fun? I mean, they seem kind of boring.
Well, the key is to use them in a way that engages your brain.
Like what?
Instead of just writing words, you can use pictures or examples.
Oh, that's a good idea. More visual.
And you can use them to test yourself on all sorts of things like verb conjugations or idioms.
So it's about breaking down complex concepts into smaller chunks.
Exactly.
All right, flashcards, got it. What else is in your language learning toolbox?
One technique that I've personally used and found helpful is shadowing.
Shadowing, what's that?
It involves listening to a recording of a native speaker and then trying to repeat what they say as closely as possible.
So you're like their shadow, mimicking their every word and sound.
Exactly. It might feel a little awkward at first, but it's incredibly effective for pronunciation and fluency.
Oh, I can see how that would be helpful. It forces you to pay attention to all the subtle nuances.
Yeah, all those little details that make a big difference.
Okay, shadowing, check. What other language learning gems did you unearth?
Well, one that I think is often overlooked is music.
Music. How can music help you learn English?
Music is full of repetition, rhyme, and rhythm, all of which are helpful for language acquisition. Plus, it's enjoyable. You're more likely to stick with something if you're having fun.
That's so true. I used to listen to music in Spanish all the time when I was learning. It helped me a lot.
Exactly. And there's so many different genres of English music to choose from, so you're bound to find something that you enjoy.
Yeah, pop music for vocab, jazz for those complex sentences.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to sing along. It's a great way to practice your pronunciation.
Okay, music, check. Any other must-try techniques on your list?
Yeah, we touched on this briefly earlier, but language exchange apps and websites.
Oh, right. Those platforms that connect you with native speakers?
Exactly. They can be a really valuable tool for practicing your speaking and writing skills.
It's like having a pen pal, but with instant communication.
Exactly. And many of them offer voice and video calls,
Wow.
which can be really helpful for overcoming that fear of speaking.
Yeah, it's amazing how technology has made it so much easier to connect with people from all over the world.
It really has.
So language exchange apps and websites, check. I feel like we've covered a ton of ground in this deep dive. Any final thoughts on tools and techniques before we move on?
Just one more that I think is worth mentioning, reading aloud.
Reading aloud. How does that help with language learning?
Well, it engages multiple senses at once. You're seeing the words, hearing them, and feeling them in your mouth. This multi-sensory experience helps to reinforce learning and improve pronunciation.
Oh, that's interesting. It's like a full body workout for language learning.
Exactly. And it can be really enjoyable, especially if you choose materials that you find interesting.
Like reading a play aloud.
Exactly. It brings the language to life.
Okay, reading aloud, check. I feel like we've uncovered a treasure trove of language learning hacks in this deep dive. But before we wrap things up, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the bigger picture of what it means to learn English.
You know, I think it's important to remember that learning a language is so much more than just acquiring a set of skills. It's about expanding your horizons, connecting with new cultures, and developing a deeper understanding of the world.
That's beautifully said. It's about seeing the world through different lenses.
Exactly. And it's about challenging yourself, stepping outside of your comfort zone and realizing that you're capable of more than you thought possible.
I think that's such a powerful message to leave our listeners with. Learning English is not just about achieving fluency, it's about embarking on a journey of personal growth and discovery.
It really is a journey. And it's one that's worth taking no matter where you're starting from or how long it takes you to reach your goals.
Well said. Now, before we officially wrap up this deep dive, I'd love to touch on one more aspect that I think is crucial to success, finding your why.
Ooh, I like that. Tell me more.
We've talked about all these amazing tools and techniques, but I think the most important ingredient is having a strong motivation for learning English.
I couldn't agree more. Without a strong why, it's so easy to get discouraged and give up.
Exactly. So how do you suggest people go about finding their why?
Well, I think it starts with some introspection. Ask yourself, why do I want to learn English? What are my goals? What do I hope to achieve?
Yeah, what are those deep down reasons? Maybe it's to travel the world, connect with different cultures, or advance your career.
It could be anything. The important thing is that it's meaningful to you.
And once you've identified your why, write it down, put it somewhere you'll see it every day, and let it be your guiding star throughout your learning journey.
I love that. It's like a personal mantra.
It's a reminder of why you're doing this, even when it gets tough.
Finding your why is the foundation upon which everything else is built.
It's the fuel that keeps you going. It's amazing, right? We started talking about just, learning English, but it feels like we've gone so much deeper than that.
It really has, hasn't it?
It's like we've been exploring what it means to be a learner in general.
Absolutely. Embracing challenges, always looking for ways to grow, that kind of thing.
And I think that applies to so much more than just languages.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
It's about developing that curiosity, that resilience.
Honestly, sometimes I think the biggest hurdle isn't the material itself, it's our own self-doubt,
That's so true. We get in our own way.
Totally. We think, oh, I can't do this, or we get discouraged when we don't see results right away.
But if we change our perspective a little bit, if we focus on the journey itself.
Yeah, instead of being so fixated on that end goal of fluency.
Right. Enjoy the process, the little discoveries along the way.
Those aha moments when things click,
Exactly. And remember, fluency, it's not like a destination you arrive at and that's it.
It's more like fluid, always changing.
There's always more to learn, to explore.
So as we wrap things up here, I want to leave you with this thought.
Okay, I'm listening.
Every time you come across a new word, a new phrase, imagine it as a key.
A key?
Yeah, a key that unlocks a new door in your mind.
Oh, I like that.
Opening up these new possibilities, new ways of seeing the world.
Keep collecting those keys.
That's it, and keep unlocking those doors.
Don't be afraid to explore, to push yourself.
Well said. Well, folks, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the best ways to learn English. We hope you found it helpful and are feeling inspired to keep going on your language learning journey.
Remember, every step you take, even the small ones, they all matter.
And don't forget to celebrate those wins.
Yes. Keep practicing, keep exploring, and most importantly, keep believing in yourself.
Until next time, happy learning.